Am I the asshole for not accommodating my brother's vegan fiancé? Full disclosure, I do eat meat, eggs, and dairy. That being said, I'm lazy and prepping and cooking meat takes more work than I'm willing to do a lot of the time, so I've built up a pretty okay repertoire of vegetarian and vegan meals. That's why I volunteered to cook last night for a small family dinner, even though I would normally never. I love my mum to bits, but if the first step isn't browning a pound of ground beef, she's a little lost on what to make. This is all a thing because my brother has recently gotten engaged to a vegan woman. None of us have really spent a lot of time with her due to the pandemic, and generally just having our own lives. The times I have spent with her have been perfectly nice. I had thought that this would also be perfectly nice too. So I did my best. I put together a Dijon vinaigrette salad, pasta tossed with roasted asparagus and cherry tomatoes, and because this is America where carb on carb doesn't have to be just a dream, some bread that I frickin' vetted to make sure that it didn't have milk or eggs in it. She could eat every single thing that I served. At least I thought so. We sit down, plates are dished, she has questions. Whatever, fair enough. I can imagine that she's been in situations where things seem safe to eat, but surprise, surprise, there's honey in the salad dressing or just something like that. Reassurances are made, I did my homework, but she has other complaints. You roasted the veggies in olive oil? There's olive oil in the salad dressing? The pasta isn't whole wheat? This is white bread? Yes, vegan, all of it, but not stripped down to as few calories as possible, and now she won't eat it. She just sat there and tore one of the rolls up into tiny pieces until the table was cleared. My brother texted me later that night about how screwed up it was that she had to go home hungry, and this is where I may be the asshole. I replied something in the effect of saying that I had thought to cook to accommodate veganism, not an eating disorder. He told me to go F myself, which again, fair. Now I imagine a cold war is brewing, and my mom is inevitably going to get sucked in. I also could have tried to make something healthier, though I don't think what was served was that bad. Am I the arsehole? Now in the comments, not the arsehole. It seems rude that you cooked a vegan dinner and she didn't eat any of it. What's the problem with olive oil? And Dopey replies, not sure, but I assume that she's very conscious of what she eats, and anything that has fat in it is a no-go. That, or she just thought that the food looked gross. I'm not gonna push it. Olive oil is super beneficial and tasty, and what you prepared sounds really great. She is just super picky, and that is not your problem. I know. If you're vegan, your body needs fat from somewhere, and olive oil is probably one of the best things for it. In fact, most vegan diets recommend a fat of some kind like olive oil due to the omegas included, and other than that, there's pretty much only corn or sunflower oils that people use, so what did she expect? She sounds entitled and nasty. Next time, just let her cook and don't even try to accommodate her anymore. It sounds like a no-win situation with her. I'm not saying this is the case for the fiancé, but when you want to restrict your diet but you don't want people to question why you're restricting your diet, saying that you're vegan or vegetarian is a good cover. Again, not saying this is the case for the fiancé because there could be other reasons she's acting this way, it's just that olive oil is very healthy. In my nutrition class, the textbook talked about Greek people drinking a glass of olive oil a day. This is why it stuck out to me. Ding ding ding. When I was deep in my anorexia, I went vegan. It was such a convenient cover for why I didn't eat anything, and since I worked as an executive surrounded by men who wanted to do every meeting at a steakhouse, no one questioned when I'd get a chunk of iceberg lettuce. Now, if I'd been the person in the post, I absolutely would have forced myself to eat what was prepared, even a small bit, and been exceptionally thankful that they tried to accommodate me. This girl is either too deep into disordered eating to recognize her behavior, or she is just an asshole. Why not both? You're not the asshole. His girlfriend is out of line for going to a dinner without bringing her own food or explaining her dietary preferences ahead of time. They obviously should have hosted. Your brother is way, way, way out of line for not reaching out to apologize to you for how dinner went down. Sure, Your quip was irreverent, but it was right, and you didn't say it until your brother came at you like you did something wrong by cooking an entire vegan dinner to accommodate his boo. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for walking out on dinner with my girlfriend's parents after they said my brother and his husband were not good role models? I'm male, 19 years old, and I was a late-in-life baby. My older brother, 38 male, was 19 when I was born. Our parents died in a car accident when I was about 6 to 7 years old, and ever since then, my older brother and his partner, now my brother-in-law, got custody of me and raised me. They were the best dads I could ever have, and they always did their best to take care of me. Well, for the last 2 months, I've been dating this girl, Sarah. I really like her a lot, and she's met my brother and brother-in-law and everything was fine, and she didn't seem homophobic, but she hasn't wanted me to meet her parents until recently. 2 weeks ago, she told me that they were coming to visit her this week, and that she finally wanted me to meet them. She told me that she didn't want me to tell them that my brother had a husband who helped raise me because her parents wouldn't like that. I told her I wasn't gonna lie on my brother like that, and she finally relented on it and told her parents herself. The day of the visit yesterday, we all went to a steakhouse for dinner, and for the most part, the evening was fine. And we had okay conversations until her parents got to talking about how I was raised. They started saying things like how nice of a young man I was despite the shortcomings of my home life, or that life couldn't have been easy living with my perverted brother and his friend, and that they were glad that I didn't pick up any bad habits. After they started, I just saw red, and I slammed $40 on the table for my meal and just walked out and left. Sarah called me multiple times today telling me that I shouldn't have reacted like that, and that I overreacted, and that she told me her parents wouldn't like it. She was mad at me for leaving her there at the restaurant and that I was rude. I asked my brother and brother-in-law about it, and they told me they loved me for it, but that it was rude and I probably could have handled it better than that. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, not the asshole. Sarah has accepted, made excuses for, and outright defended her parents' bigotry. Sarah should be ashamed. You were beyond respectful to people who showed no respect to you and your family. You did the right thing by implicitly defending your brother and his partner. Ditch Sarah. She's shown you the type of people that she supports. OP, your actions show character, not lack of it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Especially because you paid for your meal. You kept all the onus on them. They said something uncompromisingly bad, you gave back the gift of dinner. It's not like they were even out the cost of a night out with you. They simply fortified the pleasure of having you listen to them spout bullshit. This is exactly how free speech works. You cannot forcefully stop these people from spouting their bullcrap, but they cannot force you to listen to it. They are free to talk as much as they want, to the empty chair that you were sitting, assuming the chair doesn't get mad and walk out too. Stand by your principles, OP, and be the change. I'm kinda picturing the furniture from Beauty and the Beast storming off in a huff. All those closets and tat racks and ottomans righteously offended like, I don't have to take this. Not the asshole. Tell your girlfriend that you're surprised that she turned out so well, having been raised by people like that, and that you're sorry that she had such a challenging home life. It couldn't have been easy for her growing up with homophobes. And our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for spending money I saved for a trip with my dad when he wanted to include his stepdaughter? Back in February, I, 17 female, asked my dad if we could take a weekend trip for Halloween to this haunted house event that the two of us have talked about going to before. He said he wasn't sure that he could afford it, but if I saved enough money, we could go. And he was going to cover some of it too. I actually saved up the money by early September and told him as much. He then brought up the subject about how cool it would be to include his stepdaughter, 14, and it would be a nice bonding trip for all three of us. He asked me how I felt about that, and I told him I didn't want to include her. I wanted it to just be the two of us. He asked why, and I told him we never do stuff just the two of us anymore, and I want that time with him. He said that I get plenty of time with his wife, and I said she's not him. That I wanted more time for him and me, not everyone together, not me and his wife or me and his stepdaughter. He told me, okay, it could be just us. Then his wife blabbed because he didn't tell her that I had said no. Then his stepdaughter wanted to go, and he told me he couldn't say no to her after that. So I told him to forget it. I bought myself some stuff with the money that I had saved, and this upset my dad and his wife and his stepdaughter. My dad and his wife told me that I responded like a child instead of an almost adult. His stepdaughter said I was so mean. Why would I do that? She was looking forward to spending the weekend with us at the haunted house. I told my dad I saved it for the two of us to go alone, but he has made it clear that he doesn't want that time with just me anymore, and since that's how he feels, I am sick and tired of time with his family. That he shouldn't worry because I will be gone soon anyway, and he can spend all the time he wants with them, and the childish and mean one won't be living here in a few months. He then asked why I couldn't just wait and do something else with him. Why spend the money? Why break the plans like that? Well, it's not the first time that I've tried to do something with him, and he automatically involved everyone, or just his stepdaughter in it. And I even told him that I missed hanging out with just him and me. It doesn't do crap. I know his wife is upset because her daughter is hurt, because she knows how badly I didn't want her there, and she's also not going now. Am I the asshole here? Now in the comments, not the asshole. You shouldn't be covering any of the costs of this trip at all, and your dad and his wife are being assholes by downplaying your need for one-on-one time with your father. Not the asshole. The money is yours, and you're entitled to spend it on what you want. You aren't obligated to participate in a trip with your stepsister, let alone pay for it from your pocket. It's good that you stood your ground and didn't let them guilt trip you or force you. Going to the trip with a 14-year-old can also restrict the scary activities which you'll be able to participate in. You have to take that into account. I'm not quite sure that this place suits a kid, although it does depend on her character and endurance. I hope that you're pleased with what you bought. At least it stays. The experience of the haunted house is over. Not the asshole. Kids in all families are allowed to want one-on-one time with their parents. It is good and healthy and important, and it's even more important in blended families. I'm sorry your dad reacted this way. Even if your kids are the absolute closest BFFs, it is still important for the parent-child bond to have one-on-one time. One-on-one time ensures the child or adult understands that they are important enough that you will set aside time in which they have your full attention. All people, but especially kids, need to know they are important to the people they care about, and frankly, one-on-one time is one of the best and only ways to do this. When the dad tried to include the stepsister, he effectively told OP she was not important enough for one-on-one time, and telling your kid they're not important to you makes you the asshole. That being said, it does sound like OP's relationship with her stepsister and stepmother, notice she never calls them hers, is a real issue, possibly one which requires family counseling. In the 70s, there was something called the problem child, and I was that child. We went to family counseling in order to, as I felt, fix me. Rather than addressing the toxic family dynamic, all visits were about fixing me. It turns out that all it took was cutting my abusive, physically and emotionally unavailable father. Problem solved. So I think that if the family goes to therapy, OP might feel like they were trying to fix her. OP, I'm sorry that you're going through this, and you are definitely not the asshole. Am I the asshole for giving my daughter's vegan friend meaty meals during sleepovers? So my daughter and her friend, Em, are both 12 years old and like to have sleepovers every now and then. Em's family maintains a strict vegan diet where she isn't even allowed to drink milk. Her parents are nice people, although a bit on the neurotic side. Em is a bright young girl, and she's a good friend to my daughter. But I noticed how much smaller and paler she is compared to my daughter. I think it's likely tied to her family's diet. So whenever she's over, I always make a big meaty meal for them. Last weekend, I made some cheeseburgers and steak for them on the grill with a big glass of milk. M absolutely loves it and always politely asks for more, which I happily provide. For snacks, I give them some of my venison jerky. For breakfast, I typically make a big plate of scrambled eggs and bacon, again with a big glass of milk. Despite her size, M always wolfs down whatever I make, and I have to say, every time she leaves, it looks like she has a healthy glow to her. I know I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I think M is a bit malnourished. Nothing against vegans or anything. She knows she'll get in trouble if she tells her folks. I think she fibs a bit to her parents about what she eats. Am I the asshole for letting my daughter's vegan friend eat meat? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. It's an ethical dilemma. Do I feed what I think is a malnourished girl against her family's wishes, or do I abide by what they say and contribute to a stunted child's growth? Now in the comments, you're the asshole. Quote, I think M is a bit malnourished, is where I deemed you the asshole. You are absolutely judging her family and her family's diet, and you are doing this out of some misguided form of activism. You think you're the hero here, saving her from some injustice. It'd be one thing if you were maybe just trying to make the kid happy one time and keeping a little secret, but you are doing this to make a statement. You are actively and defiantly disrespecting her parents. And not just that, no adult should be asking a kid to keep a secret from their parents. That is a very slippery slope and extremely inappropriate. You're the asshole. You say, quote, whenever she is over, I always make a big meaty meal for them. So you're going out of your way to make something you know that M's parents wouldn't let her have, based on she looks smaller and paler than your daughter. Stop substituting your judgments about how this kid is raised for her parents. She is not your kid. I know that I looked thin and pale at 12. I was mid-growth spurt and had indoor hobbies. It doesn't mean malnourishment, especially when your body is changing so much at that age. God, my kid is 12 and thin and pale. Should I be expecting some nosy neighbor to be calling CPS on me? I always say he's a little peanut, but he's growing on his curve, so there's not much else to do but hope that he kind of bulks up a bit as he gets older. He has the exact same body type as his dad had at that age. You're the asshole. You are not her doctor. This isn't your choice to make. Undermining her parents' dietary choices is going to do more harm than good for her. To jump from a strict plant-based diet to one heavy with dairy and meat, and then to go right back to strict plant-based, that shocks the body, so to speak. If you are concerned about her health, talk to her parents. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for throwing out jelly that my wife intentionally contaminated with peanut butter? Tonight, my wife, 31 female, and I, 32 male, were making ourselves sandwiches for a late dinner. I decided to make turkey, and she decided to make peanut butter and jelly. I watched her stick a knife into the peanut butter, spread it on the bread, and then stick the same knife into the jar of strawberry jelly without cleaning it off or using a different knife. I asked her if she was serious right now, and if she could please not contaminate food intentionally. She responded saying this was jelly specifically for peanut butter and jelly, so it was fine. I said I sometimes eat jelly without peanut butter, and either way, it was disgusting. She said fine, and went over to the sink and rinsed off the knife, but only partially. She came back over to the table and stuck the same knife, still with some peanut butter on it, into the jar again and finished making her sandwich. After she was done, I took the jar out of the fridge and threw it in the trash. She took it out of the trash, put it back in the fridge, and now she's not talking to me. Am I the asshole? Edit, no, I'm not allergic to peanuts. Edit 2, my wife asked me to add that she's pregnant, and peanut butter and jelly is pretty much the only sandwich she can have. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I might be the asshole for throwing out the jelly in front of my wife after she told me getting peanut butter in it wasn't an issue. Now in the comments, you're the asshole. Contaminated? Really? Unless you are allergic to peanuts, this is the most childish hill to die on I've ever heard. You're the asshole. What a huge overreaction. Are you sure you're not 5 years old? If it was that big of a deal, you could just scoop out the bit that was contaminated. Or just open his own jar to use separately, especially since she's pregnant and really likes her PB&Js. Right? A fully grown adult can't buy his own jar of jelly and say, "This one is mine, please don't put peanut butter in it." What a dumb thing to waste time arguing over. And what a waste of food. To throw out perfectly good jelly in some sort of douchey power play when it's the only thing his pregnant wife can stomach. I don't want to eat this since my wife, who eats it every day, ruined it. Guess I'll throw it away since I'm mad that I can't eat it, even though I already wasn't eating it. Not to mention, the jelly is still perfectly fine since no one in the house is allergic, so cross-contamination isn't a big deal. You're the asshole. I have second-hand embarrassment from how childish this is. She refused to label the jelly, so instead of doing it yourself, you had yourself a tantrum and threw it away. I wouldn't even expect this behavior from a small child. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for not letting my husband go on a postponed bachelor trip?" One of my husband's closest friends got married in a courthouse ceremony last year. They debated postponing their ceremony, but decided to just do a courthouse wedding to save money. They threw a smallish reception, like a party in their backyard, to celebrate with friends and family instead. Since they also both had to cancel their bachelor and bachelorette parties, they decided to use some of the money saved from the wedding to go on trips with their friends. My husband's friend decided he wanted to go to Vegas. He sent out an email to everyone invited, detailing the trip. His friend would book and pay for the entire villa suite, so the only thing the attendees would have to pay for would be airfare and spending cash. When my husband told me about it, he was so excited, as he's never been to Vegas, and this seemed like the perfect trip to him since his friend was covering a huge expense. However, we have 2 young kids at home, a 3-year-old and a 6-week newborn. The trip is in 6 weeks, and my husband's friends want for sure answers on who is going by the end of the week so he can finalize reservations. I told my husband I don't want him to go because I need his help at home. He pretty much begged me, but I did not give in. I do not think I can handle the needs of both kids by myself, neither of us have any family nearby, and I'm pretty much estranged from all of my family anyway. The only real option we have for help is his mum, and she lives 3,000 miles away. He offered to pay for her to come stay to help, but I told him that we can't afford it, which he should know. I'm also upset that he thought that we had the money to pay for this at all. We have 2 kids. We shouldn't be spending our money on gambling party trips. I pretty much put my foot down and told my husband that he can't go and that there is nothing he can do to convince me that he should or that it's even an idea worth entertaining. He has still been trying to convince me and come up with the ideas that he thinks will make it work, no matter how many times I tell him to stop. I finally snapped at him and told him to drop it because he's not going, and there's nothing he can do to convince me otherwise. I told him his priority needs to be his family right now, not going off with friends to blow money on drinks and gambling. He called me a controlling jerk, and that I'm depriving him of a once-in-a-lifetime trip. I told him if he went, he would be missing out on a once-in-a-lifetime moments with his kids, and that's what he needs to focus on. I told him he just needs to drop it and tell his friends that he can't go and be done with it. He told me that he hopes I remember this when there's something that I really want to do because he would never deprive me of an experience like this. He did finally tell his friend he can't go, but now he is barely talking to me and pretty much only about other things relating to the kids. I can't even understand why he thought going would be a good idea. But am I the asshole here? Now in the comments, info. How long would he be gone for? And OP replies, 3 nights. They would fly out on Thursday and come back on Sunday. I don't know, I feel like that isn't terribly long. I agree. Plus OP's husband seemed to go out of his way to try and find solutions, each of which OP shut down without even a discussion. I'm not sure. It depends on how easy and difficult OP's baby is in 6 more weeks. Babies grow really fast at that age. I have a 3-month-old right now, and things can change from easygoing to overwhelming in a day or two. In an ideal world, no solo trips for parents until the baby lets the parents get at least 6 hours of uninterrupted sleep in the night. At least that's the rule in my household. It sucks that the dream Vegas trip falls in a timeline that does not work for your family, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I hope you guys can have a conversation about it. Or that's the problem. OP has refused any conversations that don't fall in line with, "I won't go." You need couples counseling, not Reddit's approval. Seriously, big stuff here. This is bigger than a trip. Having people tell you you're not the asshole isn't going to help solve the issue. You're the asshole. Sounds like you're dictating terms, not discussing them. No wonder he's barely speaking to you. What's the point of dialoguing with someone whose mind is already made up about everything? As someone who single-parented kids born 17 months apart, even when they were infants, with zero family support, I feel you. But if it's not too late, I gently urge you to reconsider for the sake of your marriage. You'll make it through 3 nights, even if it'll be damn hard, and he'll take over when he gets back, eternally grateful to you. No, it isn't fair that he gets a break while you do double the work and lose twice the sleep. But showing him you can do it and will go through it for him will strengthen your marriage at a time that sounds like you guys are disconnected. It doesn't really sound like it's about the money, unless he has a history of irresponsible solo spending. Let him go and expect to be the goddess thereafter. Not the asshole. I see why he wants to go, but newborns are hard. Both parents, not just the mother, should fully be expected to sacrifice all of their social events temporarily after having a baby. It's what you sign up for when you choose to impregnate someone. Your life is no longer your own. Your kids' needs come first, and it sounds like the kids' needs can't be met at this stage just by one parent. Both toddlers and newborns are hard work, and sleep is in short supply. The needs of your family, of your children to be cared for, and of your wife to get sleep and be healthy mentally are first over friends. Newborns have high needs around the clock. Leaving them is unrealistic at this age. You can't just dump off your newborn on the other parent for days because of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to party. When you're a parent, you pass those opportunities up because you made that choice when you made a kid. You will be sleep-deprived, alone, with no breaks for 3 days. 12 weeks is way too little to be left for days at a time. If this trip was planned at any other time than a few weeks after childbirth, I'd vote different. But dumping all the baby care on your partner to F off and party 12 weeks postpartum in the most difficult months of a parent's life is very selfish and inconsiderate. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for getting angry at my parents after they refuse to look after my children?" I, 25 female, have 2 children, my son 4 and my daughter 2. Raising 2 children at a young age has been really difficult. However, I was able to graduate from college with a good degree and start a career that I am happy with. Despite this, the struggle of trying to juggle the responsibility of looking after my kids and focusing on my career is stressful to say the least. My fiancé, 26, also works full-time, which only compounds the issue. Up until now, my parents have been watching my children on Saturday nights, so me and my fiancé can have time to ourselves. My parents are retired. I was recently offered a promotion at work. While I enjoy my new position, it involves me working more hours, which only makes my home life more difficult. I told my parents that I'd really appreciate it if they could watch my kids on Tuesday and Thursday nights as well, so as to alleviate my stress levels. However, they refused, saying that they are doing more than enough by looking after my kids on a Saturday night. We had an argument after this, when my parents threatened to stop watching my kids on Saturday night. This annoyed me, and I responded by saying that if they're going to put me in a compromising position, then they are not going to come to my wedding. We haven't spoken since, and I've had to look after my kids on Saturday night, which has been stressful for both me and my fiancé. I feel as though that since they are retired, there's nothing wrong with asking them to pull their weight more and help me out with my kids. Am I missing something? Am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I may have been the asshole in this case, since I threatened to not invite my parents to my wedding. Now in the comments, is this a joke? You're the asshole without a doubt. These are your kids, not your parents's. They are doing you one hell of a favor by watching them every Saturday night just so you can have some time off. You are unbelievably ungrateful. I sincerely hope this is a troll. 100% this. OP is entitled and ungrateful. OP's parents did their job by raising OP. They were being very kind by offering OP a night off every single week. And then trying to blackmail the parents with a wedding invite. Sad. Family members are not on-demand free babysitters. No one has an obligation to raise your children for you. Quote, there's nothing wrong with asking them to pull their weight more. They are not the parents of your children. You need to start pulling your weight as a daughter and stop exploiting your parents' generosity. Your entitlement is appalling, OP. Grandparents are not on-demand babysitters. Do what the rest of the world does and get appropriate childcare. If the new job is so great, that shouldn't be a problem unless you are cheapskates. Let your parents enjoy their retirement and stop forcing your responsibilities onto them because you feel entitled. And our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for doing a welfare check on my girl who is living in a dangerous environment? So my girl, 28 female, and I, 32 male, have been together for 8 months. She lives with her friend Jared, 27 male, who owns the home. Jared seemed like a great guy, very friendly, down to earth, and weeks from becoming a physiatrist. Medical studies were demanding of him, but we all got along well whenever I was over. I'm a cop. Where we live, marijuana is common but still illegal. As a law enforcer, I honor the law but am also anti-drugs for personal reasons. It's not harmless. My peers who smoked marijuana in school are now deadbeats, and my best mate got rejected from the army because he'd used marijuana before and now drives trucks. I've not discussed this view with my girl, but I think being a law enforcer implies my stance, plus nothing about her life gives me reason to suspect she thinks drug use is okay. Sometimes when Jared hung with us, I suspected he had used marijuana. I'm trained to suspect it, but Jared's profile didn't fit an addict, nor would my girl accept living with one. Likely my judgment was wrong, and he was tired from studies. Unfortunately, my instincts were correct. A few weeks ago, I arrived at my girlfriend's house before she had. I let myself in and went to the balcony, and Jared was there. We were casually chatting when he just puffs on a joint, and then even offers me a puff. I'm fuming. This guy literally offered a cop drugs, so clearly he's offered my girl drugs. I'm terrified for her safety in this environment. Really, as a law enforcer, it is my civic duty to enforce the law, but my judgment was that Jared could be reasoned with. I made him aware of my obligation, and that his drug use also hurts society, and others around him as well as himself. As a cop, and because he lives with my girl, I'll charge him if my girl is put in danger again. He denied the severity of his use, said he will stop around me, but he doesn't respect my attitude or behavior in his house. Mildly insulting response after letting him off, but understandable it wasn't taken well. He's an addict, and I've made use harder for him in his own home. My girl comes home, we both explain what's unfolded. My girl says it's a lot and I should go home for the night. The next day, the city is in lockdown. I'm not able to address with Jared nor my girl what happened. The last few weeks, she is talking to me less and less. My anxiety knowing my girl is locked down in such a toxic situation is overwhelming. Last week, I decided to do a welfare check, but send my partner in. He did it, but afterwards said that was effed up of me. Later that night, my girl cut it entirely and filed a complaint against me. I truly didn't believe I did anything wrong and was just trying to protect my girl, but I've lost my girl and my career is in trouble. But both my girl and my partner think I'm screwed, so maybe I am. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, you're the asshole. The phrase "my girl" is coming across as very creepy. Looks like karma really is what they say. Came to the comments literally to say that he would be the asshole for purely, repeatedly calling his adult ex-partner my girl. So much that it made me throw up a little bit in my mouth. OP, you're the asshole. This is obsessive, controlling behavior, masquerading as being protective, and an extraordinary abuse of power. Very justified to now be in trouble at work and single. And the fact that he still says they've been together 8 months when she's clearly already broken up with him is also concerning. You're the asshole. Please take a different career path. This times a million. Smoking one joint isn't an addiction. She is not in harm's way because pot was in the house. Likely she knew. She just figured you weren't this type of cop. I really hope you leave her alone, but I'm so scared for her. You're the asshole. Right? I'm more scared of what OP will do next than Jared with his joint. I love how even his cop buddy was like, dude, what the hell? This isn't how you treat people. You're the asshole. When they say bad cops, they mean you. You think your job gives you moral authority. You think you are allowed to just let yourself into someone else's house that you don't live with? Seriously, just stop. Your girl probably smokes too, and it doesn't make anyone a bad person. She's waiting to break up with you because she's afraid of bad cops, by the way. Am I the asshole for telling my entire family that my cousin's child-free wedding isn't 100% child-free and refusing to attend? I need some insight to see if I'm in the wrong because I really don't feel like I am. I, 32 female, just received an invite to my cousin Alex's, 30 female, wedding. It stated on the invite that the wedding was child-free. I'm not new to child-free weddings, but what has me frustrated is the fact that there will be children in the wedding. Alex plans on having her future husband's nieces and nephews at their wedding. I overheard her asking if her niece could be the flower girl at a family get-together. This confused me because child-free means no children, so I called Alex and asked. I told her and said that if her nieces and nephews are going, then my daughter, who is 5, similar in age to her nieces and nephews, should be allowed to go too. Alex said that only those in the bridal party are the exception and that she wants her nieces and nephews at the wedding. When I asked why they could come and not my daughter, she said that it's because she knows her nieces and nephews are well behaved, so there will be no issues. She also knows her sister and brother-in-law's parents very well, and to top it off, she's a teacher who wants a day where she doesn't have to deal with the children of others. She also said that she is closer to them. I told her that her reasoning was ridiculous because child-free means no kids, including her nieces and nephews. Alex then told me I was more than welcome to decline the invite, so I did. I ended up venting to my mother, married to Alex's dad's brother, and while she didn't agree with Alex, she said that she could understand her feelings. However, my dad didn't like it and called her dad, my Uncle Mitch, asking why my daughter would not come. Mitch told my dad that it is Alex's wedding and she can do as she pleases. He also said cousins are not the same as nieces and nephews, especially since they're in the bridal party. My dad said since Mitch is paying for it, that he should talk Alex into allowing children, but he declined and said that he and my aunt don't believe paying for the wedding gives them a say, and even if it did, he agrees with Alex. This upset my dad, so he then told other family members. Now several members are upset that Alex and her future husband's nieces and nephews will be there, but no one else is allowed to bring their children. We have a fairly large family, and we all watch each other's children, so finding childcare will be difficult. Most of the family say that it's Alex's wedding and her reasons make sense, but I and some of my cousins are refusing to attend. Alex doesn't seem to care one way or the other. One cousin told Alex that she was bringing her child anyway, to which Alex said, "Make sure you wear sneakers so it's easier on your feet as you're escorted back to your car." Which is how we found out that she's having the security guard from her school checking the guest list and that he knows to not let any children in. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, this has made me laugh. It is her wedding. not some admissions policy for a restaurant. You are basically trying to speak to the manager to demand your own way at someone's wedding. Drop it before you create any more drama. Yes, you're the asshole. I loved how her dad tried to convince the bride's dad to leverage paying for the wedding to force extended family members to be allowed to bring their kids as well. The policy the bride has is pretty standard for a child-free wedding. Many of them still include close family kids or kids in the wedding party. Every action taken by OP and those on her side just drips with entitlement. I really hope some of them do try and show up with their kids and end up being escorted out. Anyway, you're the asshole. Judging by how OP and her family is reacting, I understand why the bride has already arranged for security at the wedding. The bride knows what they are like. You're the asshole. It's her wedding and she gets to decide who can come or not. You complaining to your parents and having your dad call her dad to complain is childish. It might seem unfair, but it's her wedding and you don't have any right to argue with her about any decisions that she makes. If you don't agree with her rules, then do exactly what she said and don't go. She isn't forcing you to do anything that you don't have to do. It genuinely baffles me why people are so keen to take their children to weddings. Info. Have you always been the family pain in the ass? Your behavior is awful and you need to just stop. Alex can invite who she wants. You don't get to have a say. You don't get to cause family trouble. It makes you look bad. Stay home so the adults can have a nice time. Grow up, you're the asshole. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for wanting to talk to my wife about why I'm upset? My wife and I have a 2-year-old son. About a month ago, his daycare center closed its doors due to staffing issues. We were given 1 week notice before they closed and had to scramble to find someone to care for our son during the day as we both work full-time. Luckily, her mum doesn't work and was able to come to help us out. We've been looking for a new daycare, but it's been a struggle. So for the last month, my mother-in-law has been living with us. I know my son loves his grandma time and mother-in-law is good with him. I will also admit that my mother-in-law does help out around the house with small stuff like dishes and laundry that I do appreciate. But at the same time, it's been a month and I'm just feeling very cramped in my own house. I wake up and mother-in-law is there, usually on a video call with her sister having coffee in the kitchen. I come home from work and mother-in-law is there. I try to watch TV and mother-in-law is there. It's just getting to be a lot for me. I find myself being very short with my wife and just being angry a lot. My wife has noticed and I told her that I'm frustrated with the daycare situation and just stressed with having my mother-in-law there. She told me that mother-in-law is doing us a huge favor and I need to suck it up and deal with it. This past Monday, I had a particularly bad day at work, so I got home already in a rough mood. During dinner, mother-in-law just kept going on and on about her sister's kids and some problems they were having. I didn't say anything, I just kind of kept my head down and ate my dinner. My wife noticed I was quiet and asked me if I was okay. I told her I just had a rough day and I was fine. A little later, I was on my phone looking through emails about a new daycare, and my wife asked me again if I was okay. I told her I was fine, just trying to find a new daycare. Not even 15 minutes later, she asked me again, and I kind of snapped at her that if she asked the question 6 more times, maybe she'd get a different answer. Mind you, every time she asked me if I was okay, mother-in-law was right there too, so it wasn't like I could tell my wife that living with her mum is driving me nuts. I then decided to take the dog for a walk to clear my head a bit, and mother-in-law said that she would come with. I just about screamed. The entire walk I just listened to her babble on about whatever thoughts came into her head, and by the time we got home, I was mentally exhausted. I just wanted to go to bed, but my wife asked me again if I was okay. I finally told her I didn't want to talk about it because it's not going to change anything. And the last time I told her how I felt, she told me to suck it up, so why should I open up to her? I told her I just want to go back to our old life and have some privacy in our house again. She got defensive and told me mother-in-law is doing us a huge favor and it's short term and I just need to deal with it. She told me I'm being an asshole for letting it affect me so much and acting like a petulant teenager about it. Now in the comments, no assholes here. Men, I get it. I'm someone who likes their space, and living with someone who has a different personality and communication style can be super tough. And it certainly doesn't help when someone else essentially invalidates your struggle. I'm going with no assholes here because it sounds like a stressful time. But the anger? Snapping at your wife? Not a healthy coping mechanism. For a lot of guys, anger is the only emotion that they've learned to think of as acceptable. So they'll skip right past embarrassed, overwhelmed, claustrophobic, sad, and frustrated straight to anger. That's because it robs you of the chance to experience, work through, and deal with those less destructive emotions before your brain moves straight to, let's burn this motherfrickin' relationship to the ground. You were trying to hold in the anger, and it sounds like it's not working well. I can't recommend specific strategies, but I can recommend that you do some research and see if you can find a better way to manage your emotions. Keep on this path though, and you will, without question, become the asshole. I think everything eventually turns to anger if you don't have a good way to process your feelings. That's one of the most difficult things about this situation. It sounds like he tried to talk to his wife about what he's feeling, and she shut him down. Of course, she is also most likely processing her own complicated feelings, but you can't really blame a guy for getting pissy when he has no good alternative to swallowing his feelings. Especially considering the emotions overwhelmed, claustrophobic, frustrated weren't skipped at all. It's just that OP currently can't escape those feelings. Then add on that he's being negged about it in front of mother-in-law, which is not a good time to clear up any of those emotions, and to top it off, the moment he is opening up about these emotions, he's told to swallow them and be grateful about it. OP didn't skip straight to anger at all. It's a result of his wife's communication. She's not even acknowledging that it's okay for him to feel like that currently, which it is OP. She's straight up telling him to stop having these emotions at all. At a certain point, some amount of anger about the situation is completely understandable. It's not like he's acting out on his anger. He's not yelling at his mother-in-law. He even fully acknowledges that she is a tremendous help for them. There is only so much someone can do before becoming so overwhelmed, their communication just breaks down entirely. No arseholes here. This is a stressful situation and everyone is doing the best they can. Since mother-in-law is already there, maybe you and wife can sneak away for a weekend alone. And OP replies, I asked my wife about this and she said that since mother-in-law is already watching our son for 40 hours a week, she doesn't want to ask her to do more than she already is. Which I get and understand. Chasing a 2-year-old around all day is exhausting, so I haven't pushed on this. Lord at that point. Maybe spring for mother-in-law to go away for a weekend with a friend as a thank you for her help, and then it'll just be a regular weekend at home without her for a few days. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for trying to teach my daughters what I thought was menstrual etiquette? I, 50 male, have 3 children, 2 daughters who are 18 and 12, and a son who is 15. Over the summer, my youngest got her first period. I always try to make sure that we're well stocked, so I showed her where she could find the necessary supplies, as well as the bottle of ibuprofen in the medicine cabinet. Not knowing whether or not her mum had the talk with her, I asked if she had any questions or if she needed anything. She told me that she'd rather talk to her sister if that was okay. Not wanting to make her uncomfortable, I said that it was fine, but told her that if she ever needed anything, to not be afraid to ask me. Thursday night, it was just my youngest 2 and I, as my oldest daughter was at work. I hit the bathroom and noticed a couple drops of blood on the toilet seat and the floor. No biggie, I wiped it up and went about my business. Maybe I was wrong to assume, but I figure that my daughter is still getting the hang of things, and if my son was bleeding, he would come and tell me. So when I went to say goodnight, I asked my daughter if she was on her period. I immediately could tell that she was embarrassed when she asked why. I told her that I wasn't trying to embarrass her, but there was a little blood on the seat, and that it's not a big deal, but it's a good habit to make sure that the toilet is clean before you leave the bathroom. I meant this in general for anything you do in the bathroom. She said okay, we said goodnight, and that was that. Again, I don't care. The only reason I brought this up is because she spends every weekend at her friend's house, and I feel like it's just good etiquette. You never know how someone's going to take it, and figured it was better coming from me. My older daughter, though, told me this morning that my younger daughter was crying a little bit and was completely humiliated. I feel horrible. I didn't mean any harm, I was just trying to help. She hasn't talked to me much today, and I can tell that she's avoiding me. I don't know if I should apologize or let it go. I don't know how to make this right. And to add, to clarify some things, this wasn't my daughter's first period. This would be likely her second or third. My older daughter didn't come at me angrily. She said that my younger daughter was crying, and when asked, said that I humiliated her but wouldn't answer how. So older daughter asked me what had happened. I've had sole custody of my older daughter since she was about 12, so I've been through this before. But my older daughter was smooth sailing. She comes to me about everything. My youngest two just came to live with me full time at the end of May. Their mum is around, but they're not on the best of terms right now. I do realize that I might have overstepped a boundary. I just want my younger daughter to feel comfortable coming to me with things. I don't want my oldest to feel like she has to be a mother figure for her siblings. Also, I greatly appreciate the awards, upvotes, and kind words. Things have been a bit rough for my kids, and I really am trying my best. So it was very nice to hear that I seem like a good dad. Thank you. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I told my daughter that she left some blood on the seat and humiliated her. Maybe I shouldn't have brought it up at all. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Talking from experience, she was probably just a little overwhelmed and embarrassed. It takes a while to get used to having a period, and you mentioned that she wanted to talk to her sister about these things. Totally reasonable, talking to other women is not as embarrassing. So maybe a mix of everything led her to that reaction. As much as I dislike the stereotype that women are more emotional during periods, this is probably it. First periods, first accidents. It's nothing that I'd worry about. No assholes here. You were doing great. I think as another poster said, kids are often just terribly embarrassed about toilet stuff in general, be it urine drops, not brushing the loo, or a drop of blood. Normalize, move on, don't dwell, and she'll get that it's important, but not the end of the world. To add, it's a hygiene issue after all, and we don't dodge those. Yeah, we all really appreciate raising kids with good hygiene. I shared a house last year with a 20-year-old who left blood on the toilet on more than one occasion, and I was too chicken to bring it up and deal with her embarrassment. OP, you're a good parent, and it probably goes without saying that 12-year-olds are squirmy, emotional beings, and that's that. And our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for forcing my stepson to clean up after himself in the bathroom? Quick and dirty one for you, Reddit. My 11-year-old stepson has this wild habit of just absolutely blowing up, poo bombing, the only toilet in the house every time he has to drop the kids off at the pool. I mean, crap. Historically, myself or whoever uses the restroom after him has gotten out the bowl cleaner and toilet brush and given it the old 1-2 ourselves. Recently, I figured he's old enough to start tidying up after himself in that department. He's getting bigger, which means other things are getting bigger too, and it's reached a point that I feel it's worth chatting about. He finds it funny and gross, but hasn't, thankfully, developed any embarrassment or anything around his bathroom habits. I checked in with Hubs, Biodad, who gave me the all clear to start showing the little bloke how to take care of himself and the facilities. I started him off with some preventative strategies, like laying a bit of TP down before he sits down for the job, and then showed him, with an already clean toilet, how to spray in the cleaner and scrub the porcelain clean. He didn't love the tutorial, but I told him that we could do it together the first couple times until he got the hang of it himself. The last 3 explosions and the subsequent mess have resulted in an outright refusal by him to help clean or allow me to show him how to take care of the shitstorm. He says it's too gross and that parents are supposed to do these things for their kids. Here is where I might be the arsehole. I doled out a consequence the last time. I told him he was welcome to come with me to the restroom and I'd show him how to clean it up again, or we would need to do a screen-free day, which is a normal consequence in our home. I do not want to be in a power struggle with a 5th grader, but this issue is pretty close to a hill that I'm willing to die on. Dad continues to support me, but did suggest he might be a bit young to be expecting this level of buy-in to scrubbing the loo. My stepson thinks I'm an asshole for having this expectation of him. Am I? Should I just let it go until he naturally wants to start tidying up after himself in the bathroom? How young is too young for toilet cleaning duty? Edit. We live in Australia, and we have low-flow water toilets. The young man is not having explosive diarrhea every time he goes to the bathroom, plus mum and dad are on top of his health. Now in the comments, no assholes here. I'm 47, I have never developed a natural want to clean a toilet. I like a clean one, but if I never had to actually clean it myself, I would be just dandy. You are absolutely on the right track. 11 is more than old enough to start cleaning up after himself, and perhaps a visit to the doctor to see why he is consistently having explosive shits may be in order. That's odd. But you are not considering this. If you blew up someone else's toilet, would you not clean up after yourself, or would you leave it to the homeowners to find? Yes, he's 11, but he's old enough to know how to use a toilet brush, so I have to disagree and say not the arsehole. P.S. I don't know how most of you live with dirty toilet bowls, especially if you live with many people. I could never. Not the arsehole. He's not too young to do this, he just doesn't want to. You might want to let dad force the issue though before you become the step monster over some poo stains. Yes to all of this. Obi, my son who is 5 years old, helps clean the potty, as does my daughter who is 8. All chores are equal opportunity in the house, and we've been telling them that's your mess, so you clean it up, since they were about 2. Within reason and with help when needed, obviously. He can do it, and he needs to do it. We all have things we don't want to do, but we do them anyway because that's just life. Not the arsehole. 11 is old enough for him to scrub a toilet, especially since you're taking time to show him what to do. That said, this degree of mess makes me wonder if he has a bowel issue or a food allergy. This level of intestinal distress is worrisome. Am I the arsehole for telling my mum that she's the cause of all my brother's problems? I, 33 female, have a sister, 30 female, and a little brother, 17 male. My mum, who's a single mother, as our parents divorced while she was pregnant with my brother, was a wonderful mother to both me and my sister. However, she switched up incredibly while raising my brother, so much to the point that I offered to raise my brother instead. So my brother, who is now a junior in high school, has self-esteem issues, especially related to how he looks and weighs. He was a chubby baby, and my mum used to say negative things to him all the time, which I guess kind of ruined his self-esteem. My sister and I always called him cute and handsome, etc., but obviously our mother's words had a bigger effect on him. To put it in perspective for you guys, he's 6'1", underweight, objectively a good-looking kid, yet still finds himself ugly and or fat. I, a 5'8" woman, weigh more than him, and am at a healthy weight. Anyways, despite everything, he's still a cheerful and talkative kid who really does love our mother, and this makes me 10 times angrier. Now on to the problem. I made a mess in the kitchen yesterday while doing a little baking, and I accidentally fell asleep on the couch due to exhaustion, and I forgot to clean up. My mum saw the mess and started screaming at my brother, and my brother said that he'd clean it up and that he was sorry. He basically admitted to doing something that he didn't do, and when I found out, I immediately told my mum that it was my fault, but she said that it was fine. I asked her to apologize to him, but she said that he was a man and that she doesn't need to. I got mad and told her that if she kept this up, then her son will end up doing something drastic. She said that she wasn't doing anything, and I said something along the lines of, "Seriously? You are literally the cause of all his problems." I also called her a terrible mother. She got mad. She said, "I didn't go through all this crap for my own daughter to take a boy's side of her own mother's." She made a lot of gender-based comments like, "You're a girl, you should take my side, and he's a boy, he deserves it, etc., etc." Then she went to her room and she slept. Honestly, I'm just confused now. Also, while I don't regret standing up for my brother, I feel like maybe I shouldn't have blamed her for all his issues, since it's a pretty big accusation, and she's obviously hurt. I'm thinking I should have been more mature, plus she wasn't a bad mother to me or my sister, so maybe that was uncalled for too. But yeah, am I the asshole for blaming my mother for all of my brother's problems? Now in the comments, she sounds misandrist AF. Does he happen to look like his father? Not the asshole at all. I would talk with your brother and try to be his shoulder. Your mum is completely effing him up, and it may be too late to undo all her damage. And edit, I am not implying that he is beyond hope of healing, just that it's going to leave scars, so the quicker you help him start healing, the better. And OP replies, "We're actually mixed. Our dad is East Asian and our mum is white, and he looks more Asian than my sister and I, so yes, he does look more like our dad in a way. The fact that it might be too late, that's what I'm terrified about. I'll still try and be his shoulder though. Thanks." I don't mean to imply that it's beyond hope, only it'll most likely stay with him to some degree. My heart broke reading your post, and I hope you can build up his confidence and lead him to reject her bullshit that he seems to have accepted and internalized. Edit to add, did mum not initiate divorce? Seems to me that she may have unresolved feelings and is talking them out on your bro. Pure speculation on my part though. Not the asshole. Wow, that is some abuse there to your brother. Your mum has really bad, toxic, sexist anger issues, and if it is in regard to your father, then it is quite messed up that she's taking it out on your brother, who is his own person. He is not her former partner, he is her child. I am sorry, but she is abusive, and punishing him for his gender. Abuse, no excuse, plain and simple. So yes, based on the information presented, she is a bad mother and the cause of his low self-esteem. And now onto the update. So nobody really asked for an update, but I'm a bit bored and thought, why not? First off, I'd like to say that after reading your replies, I think the reason why mum is horrible towards my brother is a mix of him looking like my dad and him being a boy, but I don't know for sure. Now for the update. A bit after I made the post, I went to talk to my brother who was in his room. He was fine, but when I asked him to tell me how he felt about, well, everything, he broke down. My heart broke into a million pieces. At that moment, I knew that he couldn't stay with our mother anymore. So I called my brother of 5 years and asked him if my brother and I could move in for a bit. He has the space and my brother gets along with him, so he agreed. My mum didn't give a crap. She didn't even say goodbye to him. She asked me if I could stay, but completely ignored my brother's presence. I tried my hardest to stay calm and not shout at her for it, but the way that she was acting was so mean. According to my sister, my mother still makes mean comments about my brother, even though he's not there, so staying calm is really hard right now. Anyways, I called my dad as well, and basically told him everything. He was a bit angry at first because nobody told him this before, and he wouldn't have left any of us in a different country had he known. But he calmed down and talked to my brother for like over an hour, and by the time he hung up, my brother had tears of joy and relief in his eyes. It is still unclear whether my dad will be visiting, or if my brother will be moving, or how we're going to proceed from now on due to you know what. But I can assure you that my mother won't be able to say anything to my brother again. Unfortunately, I am unable to put my brother into therapy because I don't have a lot of money on me, but I will try and talk to one of my friends who is pretty knowledgeable in the mental health department and see if I can help my brother. Thanks to everyone who gave their 2 cents. Smiley face. And edit, Jesus. Thank you all so much for the advice, information, and awards, kindness, and yeah, everything. I've taken everything into consideration and have tried to respond to as many replies as I can. I'm going to do some research and will look into getting some help for my brother. I'd also like to say that if you're going, or you went through something similar, I'm rooting for you. And I know many of you may not be religious, but I'm keeping all of you in my prayers. Seriously. Thanks so much for everything, and I hope you all have a wonderful day/night. Now in the comments, hey, I'm happy that you got out of the toxic environment. If you're in the USA, you can apply for medical assistance since your brother has no income. And depending on your age, you may be able to apply for assistance or even get child support from your so-called mom. Especially if she is getting child support from your father. And OP replies, I'm actually in the USA, so I'll see what I can do. Thanks. Hello. Many local universities with psychology programs will have free or sliding scale therapy provided to the community, smiley face, and the students are often in their last 2 years of a PhD program and are more than capable. A lot of us, abused as kids, struggle because no one stood up for us ever. Your brother will have a long way to go, and undoubtedly it messed him up. But you've made sure that is one less point on the long list of trauma that abuse can create. And OP replies, I'm very sorry about your situation, sad face. I can't do much, but I hope you have or will find peace. I don't know if you are religious, but I will keep you and every other person who hasn't been able to get out of an abusive situation in my prayers. Thank you. Yep, one of the large aspects I remember from my childhood abuse is how no one ever wanted to rock the boat, and no one stood up for me, no one ever chose me. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for mocking my friend about her failed effort to set me up with someone? Okay, I, 27 male, am single and bi. My friend is a person who loves to set people up, and she is generally very good at it. She introduced me to a friend of hers. This girl was funny, smart, and hot. We hit it off, and we were talking to each other a lot, sharing memes and flirting. Things started going downhill when she sent me a video about athletes, and I joked that I had a crush on him in the past. She took some time to reply to that, and then asked me some uncomfortable questions about my sexuality. She asked if I had been with a man, she asked me about my sexual experiences with men, and some more questions along that line. I answered them mostly because some people are curious and open about sex, and that is fine, but after that, our communication slowed to a crawl, and I got the message that she was not interested and stopped talking to her. I told my friend about this, and she just shrugged and said, that sucks. A few of my friend circle met up for brunch last Sunday, and we were talking and having fun, and in the midst of a conversation, she was playfully boasting about her ability to set people up. I said, yeah, sure, so skilled that you set me up with a homophobic woman. I was teasing her, but I think she took it personally, and she stopped laughing. She defended her friend by saying that she was not open-minded enough right now, and then became very quiet, which is totally not her. It kinda killed the vibe. My friend thinks that she feels guilty about this, and I shouldn't have brought it up. I do feel a bit guilty, as I'm sure she would never have done this if she had known that her friend would not be cool with bi guys. I am not really cut up about the relationship not working out, and I'm kind of used to it, so I feel guilty about ruining her day over something that didn't really matter to me. Now in the comments, no assholes here. You didn't know that she would take the joke so roughly, she obviously didn't set you up with a terrible match on purpose, and is not an asshole for being hurt by your comment that implied that it was her fault. OP replies, yeah, I'm planning to apologize to her. I really didn't mean to hurt her, as she is one of my best friends. Someone who boasts their setup skills should do some minimal vetting, saying something like, by the way, this guy is bi. Are you cool with that? Not the asshole. It really isn't her information to disclose unless OP requests it though. I would argue that this really depends on how out OP is. Since it is relevant information for a potential partner, if OP is very open and casual about being bi, I would include it the same way that I would include the relevant personality traits that make me think they would be a good match. Of course, if OP is more quiet about it and only his close friends know, that's a different conversation. And before anyone gets on me about outing people, I say this as a queer woman who is quite open about it. Like, I don't go around declaring it, but if it's relevant to the conversation, I have no problem mentioning a female ex to strangers. And I would prefer not to waste my time trying to date people who aren't going to handle that well. No arseholes here. I guess you probably wouldn't have known that she'd be sensitive about it, but I guess she feels guilty as she thinks it upsets you, and maybe lowered her opinion of someone that she considered a friend. Maybe have a chat with her and let you know that you weren't bothered by it, and that you won't joke about it again if it bothers her. But not in a snarky, I guess I can't joke about anything anymore way. Not that I need to warn you specifically, it could just come out that way. Shrug. No assholes here. You didn't mean to hurt her feelings, but she obviously feels bad. If you care about that, just briefly apologize. Tell her you didn't mean to make her feel bad, and no one gets it right every time. Hell, even Babe Ruth had more strikeouts than home runs. If you really mean it, let her know that it wasn't a big deal to you and that you happened to be one of her strikeouts, but you are sure that she has hit it out of the park before. To be honest though, I'm kinda picking up vibes that you might not be okay with the setup, either because this girl thinks she's good at it when she isn't, or because having someone lose interest in you over your bi-ness is a shitty feeling, no matter how used to it you are. And OP replies, I think you may have a point. I don't feel hurt about the girl ditching me. That is a bit disappointing, yes, but I really don't want to be in a relationship with someone who can't accept me whatever their reason. I think what bothered me is my friend's reaction to me telling her her setup had failed. She seemed happy. She said something like, that sucks, but she kinda perked up hearing that. I felt something off about her reaction, but I'm not able to pin it down right now. She's usually very good at being empathetic and considerate, so maybe that rubbed me the wrong way. I feel like a total asshole. I really should apologize to her. And now on to the update. I got a lot of responses to my post. Way more than I expected, and even though I was judged not the asshole, I found a lot of varied response. I guess what I realized was that I was more upset with her reaction than the failed setup. Dates fail all the time, it's not a big deal. Anyway, I talked to her about it. I explained to her that I wasn't really bothered by it and I didn't blame her for it. I did talk about her weird response and how that had hurt me a little. She apologized for that, and told me that she realized she had feelings for me, and she felt great when the setup failed, and it took her some time to get that it had not been a pleasant experience for me, and she behaved like a bit of an idiot. Her words, not mine. We decided to go on a few dates and see if there was any chemistry, and we had our first date 2 weeks ago. It was just dinner at my place and some wine after her shift at the hospital. It was great. I feel really comfortable with her. I don't know how to describe it, but it feels like instead of starting a new relationship, we just added more routines and activities to our old ones. And it feels like not much has changed at all, but what has changed makes us happier. Okay, I should stop trying to jinx it. Things worked out, for now. And now in the comments, well, that was an unexpected twist. I hope it works out for you. And OP replies, honestly, Reddit saved my ass. I think I would have been surprised if people hadn't pointed out that she was maybe into me in the comments. Knowing it was a possibility helped think it through and decide if it's something I wanted without the pressure. What I love about this is how we mind read and can be way off. You were hurt because of your interpretation when she seemed happy that it didn't work out. It turns out the reason was a positive one as it relates to you. I'll have to remember this next time I read someone and interpret it as hurtful. And your expectance shows that the best way to deal with such situations is to communicate. Way to go, OP. So she was trying to set you up with someone, just not the person she, set you up with. That's adorable. And OP replies, I think it was mostly due to the pandemic. She had told me during the really bad phase that she was running on autopilot and she didn't have the physical or emotional energy to deal with people and that she was just running the script for her usual reaction with people. I guess she set us up before she realized she had feelings for me. She has been through a lot during the pandemic. Our next post is titled, Am I the arsehole for transferring to another school? I, 16 male, have a sister, 13, who's going to high school next year, while I'm in my sophomore year in high school. I currently go to the best high school in my city, but honestly I don't like it. It just isn't for me and I barely have any friends there, but the school I do want to go to has my old friends to be with again, so I asked my mum if I could transfer next year and she said yes. My sister and I have never gotten along, mainly because of our age gap. So when she found out that I was transferring, she started berating me, talking about how our mum works so hard for us, and the least I can do is stay at school because, well, it's a good school. I disagreed because yes, although it is a good school, my mental health has not been doing well going there, so I told my sister to leave me alone and that it's my life. So Reddit, am I the arsehole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I feel like I could be the arsehole for leaving a good school in my city. Now in the comments, not the arsehole. This decision is between you and your mum. Your sister needs to butt out. And edit, upon rereading ages, maybe you should talk to her about why she's reacting this way, because I'm guessing she's maybe worried about the new school and is actually upset that you won't be there to look out for her, no matter how distant the relationship. If not, your mum needs to talk to her about the importance of mental health. That's what I thought, that it's more about that she won't have her older brother there to look out for her at her new school. Not the arsehole. Your mental health is important and should come first. In my opinion, it's better to switch schools and get higher grades and be more dedicated to your learning. It doesn't matter if the other school is better if your grades start to suffer and you feel uncommitted to your learning. Now, I will say, I see that you said that you want to transfer to be with your old friends. As long as you don't plan on slacking off with your friends when you get there, you are not the arsehole. But if you do, I would say you're the arsehole. Changing schools for mental health is valid. To be less of an active participant in your education is not. And OP replies, Nah, I won't slack off. My grades are good, and even if I transfer, I'll still do my best. And now on to the update. Hello everyone, it's been a while since I made the post, and I wanted to update the situation with my sister as it's kinda resolved itself. My sister still doesn't like the idea of me transferring to another high school, but she has accepted it. Some people were concerned that she may have not wanted me to transfer because she'd be alone and I wouldn't be there. So I asked her, and she said that isn't the case since, as I said before, we are not close due to age gap, so I guess things have smoothed out now. Thank you guys for your judgment. And in the comments, well, I'm happy that worked out for you. Enjoy your new high school. I hope that the new school goes well. Thank you for the update. It was compassionate to check in with your sister about it, even if it wasn't the case. And I'm glad this worked out, but you and your sister don't have a big age gap. Whatever problems you have are not because of your ages. Am I the arsehole for cancelling my wedding? Over the past year and a half, my fiancé Jose and I, female 25, have been planning a wedding for July of 2021. We've been together for 10 years and have lived together for 3 years. Jose and I both don't like the pomp and circumstance of weddings, and we're hoping to have a low-key, inexpensive one. My family, however, wanted something bigger. My mother has expressed to me just how much she is living through me in having this wedding. I have expressed to her plenty that social situations trigger my anxiety. She doesn't care. Jose and I gave in last minute and agreed to marry in a church and have the big reception that she wanted. Jose made sure that if we were going to do this, my parents would pay for both the venue and the church fee. They agreed. Planning was stressful, and it caused a lot of tension between Jose and I. It turns out the stress wasn't coming from the planning itself, it was the wedding as a whole. With my therapist's help, we identified that being a bride embodied many things my mother berated me for growing up and acted as triggers for my CPTSD. I came forward with my reservations to my mother. Her response was to gaslight me about my therapist's diagnoses and insist on the wedding happening the way we planned it. She joked that I could take some CBD or have a drink to stay calm during the wedding. She's also begun drinking to avoid confronting her feelings and regards it as the only thing she has that is hers. She does not take it seriously, and my father won't help. I found out that the private conversations I've had with my father about her drinking were shared with her. It got bad enough that at my bridal shower, she had 18 beers and berated my sister-in-law for calling her out on drunkenly crap-talking my brother to family. Mind you, Jose's side of the family does not drink, as they lost their grandfather to alcoholism. I feel horrible they were put in a position of having to watch her. When trying to make amends between my sister-in-law and her, she decided to take me on a car ride in which she screamed at, gaslit, and berated me for accusing her of being an alcoholic. She apologized for this, half-heartedly expecting me to forgive her and move on. As a result, I've gone no contact with her, and Jose and I made calls and cancelled the big wedding altogether, and are instead going to quietly get married at the courthouse this Saturday with a small group present. Half of the deposit from the venue was non-refundable, but we decided to take a small personal loan to make sure we don't owe my parents anything at the end of this. His side of the family is completely on board, while mine is sending emails and pleading with me to be a better person and to make up with her. I know I've made a lot of missteps in this. I should have set my boundaries much earlier in this mess and stayed firm in not having the wedding. I wanted to hear from an unbiased party whether I'm being reasonable. Am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I should have set my boundaries with my family earlier, and feel that I've caused an unnecessary amount of emotional and financial stress for my fiancé, as well as confusion for our families. I also know how much this wedding would mean to my mother, given her situation with her parents not being fully present for hers. Now in the comments, your family are the assholes here. They forgot that the wedding is about the bride and groom and not everyone there. In extreme case, it may also extend to being about the kids if they're really young and really important to the relationship, but probably not applicable here. Anyways, the moment you had reservations, your mum should have dropped everything to figure out a way to accommodate your concerns. When she fled from her duty to do that, she lost her right to complain about any of this. Enjoy your courthouse wedding, OP, and I'm sorry for all the strife. And OP replies, my mother had straight up told me that the wedding wasn't supposed to be for us. It is a celebration for the family. One of the emails I'd received from my aunt was, verbatim, the wedding is a chance for us to celebrate you. Please don't go off and elope and deprive us of that privilege. Yes, a wedding is a chance for the family to celebrate the union of a couple. However, it should never be at the expense of what the couple wants. If the couple getting married want a low-key, no-pomp shindig, that is their right. You can't change the past, so don't beat yourself up about boundaries now. You've put them in place and learned a lesson. Just make sure you keep them in place should you decide to go down the path of kids. Not the asshole. Why is it the person wronged has to be the bigger person? Just do what's best for you and your partner. That expectation is because the one wronged is the only one who might be willing to be the bigger person. It's a lot harder to get the offender to mend their ways. Bad expectation though. Not the asshole. You did this for her when it's supposed to be about you and Jose. Then she wrecked it with her behavior and you cancelled it. I wouldn't have even taken out a loan to pay her back. She ruined this, not you. You are not unreasonable. You've been far too reasonable for far too long. Imagine how your mother would be, drunk at your wedding. It would be a horrible day that would feed into your anxieties about a big wedding. No, you were doing the right thing, and congrats to the nuptials. When your family is ready to behave, you can have a backyard barbecue party and invite them over to celebrate after the fact. If they can't behave and be happy for you, you are still happily married. And now back to the post. Edit. I'm floored, honestly, at how much traction this has gotten in the past few hours. I can't begin to thank you all enough for your words of kindness and guidance in this very strange time. When I made this post, I think I had expected to get more of a mixed response, but reading all of the not the assholes come in has admittedly thrown me for a loop. I've since subbed to many of the subreddits recommended to me by other survivors of narcissistic parents, and cannot thank you enough for y'all taking your time out of the day to reach out. Jose and I will be remaining no contact with my mother and family going forward, and I can't wait until the smaller, more intimate wedding this Saturday. For some needed context that has popped up in the comments a few times, the car ride that I went on with my mother was not while she was drunk. In trying to meet the character limit on the post, I neglected to mention that this was on a separate day from the shower. I apologize if that's misled anyone. And now on to the update. Yesterday, I married the love of my life and partner of 10 years in a quiet little backyard ceremony. 15 people were there, friends, family, and Jose's immediate family. The ceremony took all of 15 minutes thanks to our amazing JOP, and the celebration was fun. Casual conversation over a simple sandwich lunch. We got to catch up with friends that we haven't seen since the pandemic started, as well as make fun memories with the people willing to understand and love us without judgment. My mother, in response to finding out I've got no contact with the family and planned a private wedding without her, sent one of my aunts screaming at me the day before the wedding over email. Catholic guilt, gaslighting, the whole shebang. I went all in on telling my family exactly what I felt and dealt with in regards to my mother and them. They had the audacity to invent a story that Jose is nothing but a controlling abuser that deleted her first email. He's trying to steal me away from them and convince me it was the truth. They wanted me to forgive my mum and be the bigger person, even after detailing the extent of her abuse to them. I tore my aunt a new asshole over email, citing them all, my grandmother included, as cowards for not coming to me to tell me the alleged truth about Jose before, offering pomp, circumstance, and praise for getting married to him. It's funny how quickly the narrative shifted from, "Oh, think of your poor mother," to, "You poor, stupid child running into the arms of an abuser," to, "You're a monster for cancelling our family." The block button has been my best friend. Within the last 72 hours, I've learned exactly what kind of family I was raised in. In a way, I mourn that it had to be like this. No contact with the people I thought were supposed to love me. What I have realized is their brand of love is conditional. My mother also demanded the money back for the venue, and we sent a check to her. She still has chosen not to cash it. We have ample documentation to prove we have provided her that check. Jose is warning her in writing to cash that check by the 21st, or else he will stop that check and pay back the loan. Thank you to all of the kind Redditors that have reached out offering words of encouragement and resources for coping with narcissistic, toxic family. Jose and I were thrilled to finally have had this wedding on our own, surrounded by the people that matter the most to us. Now in the comments, quote, "They had the audacity to invent a story that Jose is nothing but a controlling abuser. Projection much? Congrats on the wedding and starting the family that you two are going to build together off on the right foot by surrounding yourselves with genuinely supportive people. Congratulations on your wedding. I'm glad you two could have your day the way that you wanted to. Toxic families suck, but it sounds like you've at least married into a much kinder, more loving family. Best of luck to you both in all of your future endeavors." And I'm 99% sure that she will attempt to deposit the check on the 22nd so she can claim more victim points. And OP replies, "The happy update on this piece of info is she cashed the check today. It's at least one more thing not to worry about, and we have a financial plan for the payments until we can pay it off fully next year." And our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for unplugging the internet when my boyfriend was playing a game?" So I'd cooked dinner for my boyfriend and I had called him several times. He didn't respond, so I was like, what the hell, and went to find him and bring his dinner to him. He was playing Call of Duty or Halo and said he didn't hear me. I was like, alright, here's your dinner, and then I handed it to him and he just looked at it and said that I didn't want mac and cheese, I said chicken nuggets and fries. I said sorry, but if you'd listened when I got back, you would have heard the store was all out of nuggets. He then threw the plate with the food on it at a set of drawers. I said seriously, what is wrong with you? And he just said that he was annoyed because I just made him die in the game by distracting him, and he was already mad about having mac and cheese. I said if that's gonna make you angry, you shouldn't be playing while eating. He just said whatever and carried on playing, so I went downstairs and turned the router off while I ate. He came storming down asking what the hell I had done. I said if you can't listen to me, you shouldn't be playing games when I'm trying to do stuff. He said I can't turn the internet off because he pays for it, so I said he just wasted food. He said I should have told him they were out of nuggets and waited for him to be done on the game instead of turning it off. I think he was being unreasonable, especially after he threw the plate, but his mum and my mum are siding with him. They say I shouldn't have turned the internet off, and I'm thinking they're completely missing the point. So was I wrong to do that, or should I have done something different? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I feel I may be the arsehole for unplugging the internet when my boyfriend is playing a game because he wouldn't listen to me. My mum said I should have waited to talk to him about it. Now in the comments, everyone sucks here. Your son is being pretty immature and volatile, but as his mother, you're responsible for responding calmly and in a mature fashion so that he learns better behaviors. I don't know, I'd react more strongly than this to my 6-year-old son if he threw a plate of food that I made into the furniture. OP just taking his toy away was pretty calm. He's an adult. He can get his own food if he doesn't want what his partner cooked him. Everyone sucks here. Not the asshole. Leave now. This is not going to get better. The fact that his mother and your mother are siding with him shows that he's been raised to believe that this is acceptable behavior. He is disrespectful and rude. He places his game playing above real life. He has anger issues, and he eats like a toddler. If you stay and end up having children with him, you will be struggling the whole time to get him away from the screen and helping you. You will expose your children to him blowing up at them for interrupting his games. Apologize and tell him he can game all weekend and you won't interrupt him at all. He'll be so busy he won't hear as you pack your things into your car. And might not even notice you're gone till it's time for his diaper change. Everyone sucks here. You eat like 5-year-olds, you fight like siblings, and then you run off and tell your respective mums? Grow up. And OP replies, he told our mums first. They both messaged me why I did it, so I tried to explain, and they were taking his side. To be fair, he has a lot more growing up to do than you, which begs the question, are you bringing him up, or is he bringing you down? I actually think you need to focus on the fact that your partner's abusive. He threw a plate of food across the room because it wasn't what he wanted, and he lost a game. Wah! This is abuse. He didn't hit you, but people who throw things or punch holes in walls are still violent abusers. You both sound childish and petty, but he also has serious anger issues and is physically violent. If I had a partner who did this, I would be gone immediately. I'd be unlikely to return as well. There'd have to be a serious contrition, a change in attitude and behavior, plus counseling if this wasn't the first such incident. The fact your mothers have no issue with his violence is very disturbing. You need to seriously look at the quality of the people in your life, plus any unhealthy behaviors on your part as well. People become the company they keep. And now on to the update. Thank you to everyone that helped me see that what he did was really not right. I had wondered why my mum and his would side with him too, and after speaking with my mum, I found out that he had been bad-mouthing me before this and had told her a different story to what really happened. He told her he had been at work all day and got home, and I was instantly aggressive and turned the internet off and said no games or food. I don't know why she would believe that, but whatever. He had been playing the game for 8 hours straight that day up until that point. Anyway, I left him and moved back with my mum, and for now I'm in the process of moving all my belongings, but I have the most important stuff. He has been texting me, begging me to come back because he misses me, also because he can't cook. I saw McDonald's wrappers all over the floor when I went to get some of my clothes. He also posted a video to Facebook of his crying, saying I took everything and I'm a cow. His mum is still siding with him, and she's been harassing me in messages for abusing her son. She says how dare I leave him. First, she tried to guilt trip me by saying how will he clean and cook by himself, and when that didn't work, she started threatening me and sending me abusive messages. I feel much better though. I didn't realize how much of a strain he had put upon me. So thank you to everyone that helped me out. And now in the comments, can't imagine what it would have been like to wake up in your 50s and have your teenage children come across your video that you made in your 20s, crying that your girlfriend left you because you can't cook or clean for yourself. If you were so abusive and terrible to her baby boy, why is she mad that you left him? Other than the fact that I guess now she'll have to take care of him. Block him and his mother. Just a suggestion, don't go over to get your stuff alone. He doesn't exactly seem stable. And OP replies, thanks, you're right, I didn't think about the dangers of that. If you don't have a big, bulky, male football-playing friend or two, you can call the police non-emergency line for an escort. Congratulations on taking care of yourself. Based on his reaction, which seems to have included absolutely no self-reflection, you made the right decision and will have a much happier life for it. And our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for stealing my neighbor's cat? So my neighbor of 3 years has a cat. He's always been an indoor cat the entire time I've known her. About 2 days ago, for reasons I don't know, she has kicked the cat out of her house, and now he's an outdoor-only cat. Over the course of a month or so, I watched the cat's condition decline steadily. Matting, fleas, getting skinny, etc. He also seemed really distressed being outside, always begging and meowing to try to get into people's houses. I felt bad for him and would let him come in whenever he came asking and tried my best to take care of him, until my neighbor came over and told me off for trying to steal her cat. I didn't want to cause trouble, so I stopped letting him in, but I still fed him. It was painful watching him suffer. 2 weeks ago was the last straw for me. The cat was hit by a car while crossing the road when the neighbor was not home. I saw it happen and rushed out to him to make sure he was alive, and he was, and I took him to the emergency vet. He ended up having a leg amputated, and all in all, it cost me almost $3,000. I did not tell my neighbor what happened, I paid the price, and told the vet the cat was a stray. They checked for a microchip, he didn't have one, and helped me contact the shelter to file a lost pet report. I took him home and have not let him outside at all since the accident. Here is where I may be the asshole. The stray holding period for my city is 5 days before an animal is considered abandoned, and since the neighbor has not claimed the cat through the shelter or asked me about him at any point in the past 2 weeks, I decided to keep him. Today my neighbor saw him lounging in my window and came over and said that she'd been looking for him all week. She demanded I give him back, and if not, she would file a police report for me stealing him. I told her that she must have the wrong cat, as mine had 3 legs, and I shut the door in her face. She screamed through the door for a while, and then left. Still waiting to see if she calls the cops. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Now in the comments, not the asshole. Like you said, your cat has 3 legs, hers has 4. And not the asshole. If they did call the cops, they would recognize you as the owner because you have the cat chipped and have medical papers to prove you're caring for the cat. And without having to lie, you can simply tell them you witnessed an apparent stray get hit by a car, appropriately waited the grace period of 5 days, and claimed ownership when no one asked about it. That's legal. Edit to add, F your neighbors. And good on you for giving the cat a good home. Dog thief here. You are absolutely not the asshole. Years ago, my husband was working for a company based in a small town. There was a small dog who lived on the next street who was never allowed indoors. The poor thing was always whimpering and crawling under cars to get warm. That Christmas was the coldest in decades, and before we went to visit family, we drove over to check on the dog. She was lying half under a car, shivering. Jay knocked on the owner's door and got no answer. The neighbor next door came out and told us they had gone down south for the holidays. I was furious. Little dog had no food, no water, and any water would have frozen anyway, and was on her own in sub-zero weather. We took her back to our house and gave her food and water and a bed in our heated garage. I didn't want to put her in with our dogs until she saw the vet. When we got back the next day, we took her to the vet and left a note on the people's door saying, "We've got your dog. Our number is blank. Call us and give us one good reason we should bring her back." They never called. Little dog lived out her years with us, indoors, well-fed, no whimpering. There are damn few things that piss me off more than assholes who think dogs are lawn ornaments that require no care. Edit to add, OP, you are not only not the asshole, you are a hero. Never for a minute think otherwise. And now back to the post. Update. So, I talked to my neighbor again when she came back today, and it turns out that my neighbor's new boyfriend didn't like the cat. So when he moved in, he kicked the cat out. And now that they've broken up, she wants her cat back. I am now keeping my kitty, and I told her sorry that her cat went missing, but the one in my house is mine. She seemed upset still, but legitimately convinced that my cat was not the same one when I showed her pictures of his 3 legs. As many of you have said, the life of the animal is more important than the morality of the theft here. Am I the asshole for accidentally calling out a new colleague on lying about her language skills? Last week, a new colleague, Kathy, started at my new workplace. She instantly stood out in the team because she seems like someone who is very loud and assertive. 2 of my colleagues, as well as me and Kathy, were having coffee in the break room. We were the only ones in there, and we were sitting far apart, when the subject of travel was brought up. My colleague said she wasn't booking trips anymore because it'll probably get cancelled because of COVID anyway. Kathy immediately cut in about how sad she is because she travels so often and she goes on these far exotic trips to Europe as her hobby. When I think exotic, I think the Bahamas or something instead of Europe, but cool. Kathy then jokes about how all of this no travel business is making her fear that she'll lose some of her foreign language skills. I asked her what languages she spoke, and she claimed to be fluent in 3 European languages, among which were French and Dutch. Kathy said she was at a native speaker level, and went on about how people in Europe were always surprised when they found out that she wasn't from there. I was excited, because I never get to speak Dutch over here. I was raised in Belgium, which has 3 national languages, French and Dutch and German. Dutch is my mother tongue and is the most commonly spoken there. It's quite common to be pretty fluent in at least 2 of the 3 languages in Belgium because you're required to learn them at school, along with English from a young age. I told Kathy, oh god, I don't know how to say this. Oh look, dan hebben we iets gemeenschappelijk. Which means, oh fun, we have something in common then. She immediately pulled this sour face and asked me if that was supposed to be Dutch. I said yes. She laughed awkwardly and said she couldn't understand because I have a terrible accent and must not be that good at speaking it. Now see, I don't have an accent. I speak Dutch more fluently than I speak English. I told Kathy that I grew up speaking Dutch and speak it to my family all the time. She got miffed and asked what languages I speak and where I'm from. I told her I'm from Belgium, so I also speak French, and I added, which you just said you speak as well. Cool. We can speak French instead. I acknowledged that I was a bit of a dick here because by that point, I knew she probably lied about speaking French as well. She then shoved her chair back and angrily got up and said, whatever, and stomped off. It was awkward. My other colleagues kinda just shrugged and said that she shouldn't have lied. However, she later approached me and told me that I embarrassed her by acting superior about my European heritage. I told her there was no way for me to know that she'd lied about speaking those languages. She rolled her eyes and told me I was immature. A colleague told me that Kathy had called me a little B-word who enjoys bullying new colleagues behind my back later. I don't think I was a bully at all, but I don't want this to turn into a huge thing. Do I just apologize to keep the peace? Am I the arsehole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I probably shouldn't have called her out on not speaking French either, after finding out that she'd already lied about the other language. I get why that might have come off as acting superior to her. I also feel I have come off as a bit of an arsehole and ruined her first experience working here. Now in the comments, not the arsehole. Quote, I embarrassed her by acting superior about my European heritage. I mean, not that, but you are superior to her in that you don't feel the need to lie to impress people. And Kathy called you a little B-word. Oh, Kathy, talking aloud into the mirror again? Kathy calling OP immature is rich, especially when she insulted OP and used a derogatory term. I honestly would report Kathy to HR in case she decides to submit a complaint against OP and spin the narrative to her favor. She already showed her character by lying at the break room. I would be on high alert to what lie she will tell to HR. Yes, make HR aware. At the very least, OP, make them aware of what happened. Tell them you don't need to have any action taken against her, as I'm assuming you don't yet, but she seems upset, so you wanted to let them know before it becomes an issue. Not the arsehole. She claimed to speak a language. It's not your fault that she lied. It's a risk she ran in telling the lie. This is literally a plot device in comedy movies. Someone purports to be fluent in a language to a person who actually is fluent. Said person gets very excited and says, oh my god, yay, in the foreign language, and the person who lied gets flustered and exposed. Not the arsehole OP. Edit, Sigourney Weaver in Heartbreakers. Da. And now back to the post, OP has some edits and says, Edit 1. I'm not sure about escalating this to HR, which a lot of people have told me that I have to do. I feel like this might make me look immature to the rest of my colleagues, of which I am the youngest, and it might not need to go that far. It depends on if Kathy is willing to put this behind her and be professional. If all else fails, I do have witnesses, quote unquote, who would be honest about what happened, so I think I might be in the clear if she tries to twist the story. Edit 2, some people have taken offense to me giving the Bahamas as an example of an exotic place, and are trying to make this into a race issue. I didn't know exotic was an offensive term in the US. Do I think of the Netherlands, Belgium, England, Norway, which were countries that she was describing as being faraway exotic destinations, as my idea of an exotic trip? No. Not because there's lots of white people there, but because when I think of exotic, I think of a place with nice sunny weather, white sand beaches, and a blue ocean. Maybe it's because I'm from Belgium, but I don't really feel like being in my home country where it's dark and rainy all the time is quite that experience. And edit 3. Some people think that she might not have understood me because she is fluent in Dutch, but learned it in the Netherlands, which has different accents. While it is true that the Netherlands and Flanders have different accents, I didn't speak a very specific dialect like West Flemish or something. I spoke the general Dutch that you'd see in the news in Flanders. I didn't speak quickly to try and make it incomprehensible to set her up. I genuinely believed she spoke Dutch because that's what she was saying, so I talked to her in normal, conversational Dutch. The same kind of Dutch I'd use in a work environment back in my home country, the same kind of Dutch I use with my friends from the Netherlands, but with a soft G. And now onto the update. Many people gave the advice to go to HR, others said not to go to HR because that would be escalating the situation. I decided not to go to HR right then, but I did take the advice to write down what happened, with the time and the names of other colleagues present, just in case. I thought the situation might blow over, because Kathy was probably just embarrassed. Well, I was wrong. Kathy kept being cold to me, rolling her eyes at me in meetings and talking behind my back. Another colleague came to confront me at one point to ask me why I had been so mean. Apparently, Kathy was telling a different version of what happened. Kathy said that I'd said mean things to her in Dutch and was making fun of her in Dutch, so no one else but her could understand. She was smart enough to only tell these stories to colleagues who weren't actually there for it. Word got around and it turned into a bigger issue, with a couple people actually questioning my character. Mostly just colleagues that don't work very close to me. HR got wind of it after a while, and I got called in close to a month after the incident. They had already met with Kathy, and she told them the "she cursed me out in Dutch and was very mean to me" story. I told them the full story and everything that happened after. They asked me if anyone else there was present who could confirm this. So those colleagues came and told them that Kathy had lied about speaking a language, stormed out, and then started calling me a B-word, etc. to others. They thanked me for my time, and I got on with my work. Nothing happened until a week later, when I was informed that Kathy was asked to leave. Apparently, Kathy had doubled down on the lies and told everyone I was the one lying, and she did speak those languages. So my boss told her in that case, she would have no problem talking to one of our Canadian colleagues, who wasn't involved in the situation, in French, in front of him, just to confirm. At this point, Kathy admitted she had been lying. It turned out she didn't speak a word of French either, or Norwegian, which was the third language that she was lying about. This was enough for them to let her go, because part of the reason they hired her was that they were so impressed by her speaking multiple languages and work experiences that she'd had abroad. The work experiences were made up as well. I'm just happy that it's over. I'm confident it wasn't really my fault it blew up now. If it wasn't me who caught her in a lie, someone else probably would have down the line. The few people who kind of believed her ended up coming to me and apologizing for questioning me about what had happened. So that's all sorted. And edit, some people are asking why they didn't test her language skills in the hiring process. Our jobs don't actually require us to speak Dutch, French, or Norwegian. I think they probably just saw it as a plus or something that made her stand out from other candidates. Now in the comments, I would love to know what was going through Kathy's mind when she decided to escalate and double down on the lies. Well, given that she also made up other large chunks of her resume, I think maybe she subscribes to the theory that people will be too stunned at the audacity to do anything about it. People who lie a lot get used to people just believing them. Eventually they get to a point where they think they are so good at lying that the lies don't even have to be good anymore. They don't realize most of the time people are questioning it, but don't want to be confrontational. It's the same with super aggressive drivers who can't see all the time someone has to swerve and slam on brakes to avoid getting clobbered. They just think they are so good at threading the needle that they just don't have to be careful. This makes me think of a certain property developer who went into politics about 5 years ago. He was used to being able to spout all kinds of BS and the tame business press would just roll with it. But when he went into politics, suddenly he was in the big league and people were more than willing to call him out on his BS. I remember reading this and thinking, why the hell would someone lie about being able to speak another language? It's such an easily found out lie, and it's laughable. She must have thought that there was no way anyone there spoke any of those languages, which is ridiculous because many people speak French. When I started traveling, sometimes I'd say things in French to my family in public that I didn't want others to understand. I stopped when I heard some French tourists next to me that understood the whole conversation, or a local suddenly talking to me in French. The moral of the story is never assume that people around you only speak the local language. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for donating baby stuff intended for my sister-in-law's baby?" My 34 female wife, 36 female, and I have been together for over 7 years and have been trying to conceive via IVF and sperm banks for the last 3 years. My wife originally wanted to be the one to carry the child, but after 2 failed IVF attempts, I tried the treatment. We got no luck and both had to suffer the consequences of miscarriages. This was a traumatic time for us, and we finally decided to adopt last year. Unfortunately, there's a bias against same-sex couples from adopting and fostering, so we always had a hard time talking to the agency. We were open to fostering and were going to give it a try. During this time, my sister-in-law fell pregnant with a one-night stand, and when we were talking about adoption and foster parenting, she approached us and told us that she wanted to give birth because of religious reasons, but had no desire to be a single parent. She asked whether we would consider adopting her child. My wife was ecstatic, and so was I. I brought up the possibility of a written contract, but my wife told me she trusted her sister. We paid for every pregnancy-related expense that my sister-in-law had, such as the doctor's appointments, the genetic tests that she requested, lab works, ultrasounds, her random cravings at 3 a.m. We even paid her rent for the third trimester. She decided on C-section because she was scared, so we paid for the delivery and the hospital stay. Just after she gave birth, we came to visit her to talk about the rights transferring to us. She told us that she was keeping the baby and wasn't giving it to us because she didn't believe that we were ready for a baby yet. My wife was devastated. She cried herself to sleep for several days because we put the adoption on hold and had everything ready for the baby to come. Her nursery was ready, and my wife painted the walls herself. We understood that sister-in-law probably felt the maternal instincts kicking in, and we decided to give everything we purchased for the baby to her because she was a single mom with no ready needs. We also decided to pay the remainder of the birth expenses as a gift to her. My wife insisted that she needed all the help that she could get for her new baby. A few days after the incident, I went to my mother-in-law's house, and this is where my sister-in-law currently lives. She was on the phone, probably talking to a friend of mine, and when I heard the baby mentioned, I eavesdropped. I shouldn't have done it, but I couldn't help myself. She was talking to her friend about how she knew from the beginning that she wasn't going to give the baby to us sinners, and that her sister was an idiot to think that she would allow her baby to be brainwashed by us. I was honestly shocked. My sister-in-law was never really close to me personally, but my wife always thought that she was her best friend. I never knew that she was against our marriage because she never voiced her opinion about it. Here is where I might be the asshole. I left my mother-in-law's house and got home, got everything that I could fit inside our SUV, and donated it to the homeless shelter. I made 3 trips in total to give everything away. I was honestly so mad. My wife came home to an empty room and asked me what was going on. I told her the whole story. While she was shocked at her sister's reactions, she told me that I had no right to give away the baby stuff and that her sister really needed it. I couldn't understand how after what she said about her, my wife would still protect her. Well, my sister-in-law found out and all hell broke loose. She berated me on how she was a single mom to a baby now, how she needed these things, how she didn't prepare for the baby's arrival because she depends on us. I told her to kick rocks. After spending over $10,000 on her expenses, I was beyond frustrated to allow her to continue. She told me that these things were meant for this baby, and I was wrong for giving her things away. My mother-in-law called my wife to tell her how selfish I was for my actions, and that we should at least help sister-in-law with upcoming expenses, because my mother-in-law is on a fixed income, unable to help, and sister-in-law wants to focus on raising the baby rather than working. From my understanding, we owe her nothing and we've already helped her tremendously, but my wife feels incredibly guilty and wants me to help a new mom. I understand that she's in a bad place, but how she acted is way beyond what I'm comfortable with dealing. Although I also feel incredibly bad because I may have put the baby in a bad situation. I'm starting to think maybe I was the asshole to donate the stuff meant for the baby. So Reddit, am I the asshole for not wanting to help my sister-in-law with her baby expenses and for donating the stuff meant for her baby? Also, a small clarification, apparently my sister-in-law became a born-again Christian when she moved to my mother-in-law's house. An acquaintance told us that she basically believed this baby was a sign from God to change her ways, warn everyone against sin, and becoming sinners. All the power to her for her beliefs, I just didn't expect her to deem us sinners. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Your sister-in-law took advantage of you, financially and emotionally manipulated you. She's the asshole, full stop. And while I think you should have consulted with your wife before donating it all, it sure as hell shouldn't have gone to her. She had a one-night stand and needs to face the realization that she's now a mum, which means that she's responsible for the baby. She decided to keep it and manipulate you into paying all of her bills. She needs to step up and be the parent. Not y'all. You don't have to help her with anything. She made her bed, she has to sleep in it, no matter how shitty it is. And OP replies, I understand, but we had a lot of nights dreaming about how it would be to finally be with our baby, and the thought of her going hungry or hurting makes my heart ache. She is the innocent in this, and I don't know how to help her. You can't without a written contract stating the adoption. If you continue to help, you'll only be helping your sister-in-law raise a baby who isn't yours, will be raised with the same views as your sister-in-law, and more than likely won't care very much about helping you when she's an adult. I know it hurts, but you can't help all the kids in the world, and you can't help this one. As long as sister-in-law has her free ride on you and your wife's backs, she'll continue taking advantage of you. She needs to get off her ass and take care of her child. You've given her an amazing head start already. A lot of mums have no support at all. There's no excuse for her not to step up if she's not going to let y'all adopt the baby. Not the asshole. Your sister-in-law is an awful person. She dared to comment on your life while she was stealing and deceiving you and your wife? I wouldn't give her anything else. She just wants to live off your money. And OP replies, that is true. My only issue is that the baby that we dreamt of spending years together with is getting hurt by my actions. She is innocent in this, and she may not be my baby, but we went to every appointment, listened to every heartbeat. I can't help but think I'm also punishing her for her mother's actions. And your sister-in-law knows this and rubs her hand, loving it when a plan comes together. Was she homeless before the pregnancy and at risk of starving the baby? No? Then she can give the baby what she needs to be a happy, healthy baby. She got a free ride for her whole pregnancy. Those were expenses that she did not have. She has her mother, friends, other relatives. I'm pretty sure it won't take longer than a week to furnish the baby's room with what's needed for little to no money if she asks around or bothers to actually use some of her own money on her own child. Sister-in-law is disgusting. She's turning the child into a perverted peep show. Want to hold the baby? That's food for a week. Want to see a picture? Pay for diapers. Oh, you want to talk to your niece? See a picture of her first school day? Well, there was this theme park she always wanted to go to, so you better cover all expenses for child and mom. If you do so promptly, you might be rewarded with an extra picture. Wait, what? You said no? Black screen. Oh, you don't want to pay for my car, groceries, phone bill? Well, guess I'll just have to pay for it myself and put how my poor innocent baby starves on a webcam. Is this the life you want to live? She also knew exactly what she was doing to her own sister. She knew how desperate her own sister was. She saw the joy, the tears, the hope, and happy expectations during the whole pregnancy. Every single time they talked, or your wife forked over the money that your sister-in-law demanded. And she did not give an F. She gloats. She is proud of her plan. She did not change her mind. She saw the sadness of her sister and had a brilliant idea of how to take advantage of it. She was at no point happy for either of you. She was happy for herself that you two were so easy to manipulate and worked like a free ATM. She doesn't even regret it one little bit. Not, I know I planned this from the beginning and I'm relieved it worked because of the finances, but I really feel bad now after seeing how it destroys my sister. Haha, God, those disgusting sinners were so easy to manipulate. Serves them right. I am such a genius. Is this what you want to encourage? Cut them all out. They don't like either of you, and their only use for you and your wife is to pay for your sins, through them, with money. This child will not starve. If you have any serious reason to believe that she's in danger, call CPS. Both of you need therapy ASAP to untangle this emotional mess and see the reality how it is. You were maliciously taken advantage of, and they plan to continue so. They'll mercilessly milk you while using you as a bad example of a lifestyle and godless people as the child grows. They'll do so as long as you're willing to pay for glimpses at a fantasy, not the asshole. Now back to the post. Edit. Thank you guys for your kind responses. Some of your answers really made me think about how I should approach this topic, and I apologize to my wife because I didn't have her approval getting rid of things that were also hers. I didn't consider her feelings. I will also discuss the option of therapy with her. This all feels surreal, and I will be taking a while to digest some of the responses and think back on everything. Also, a huge thanks to some of you guys suggesting to look at LGBT-friendly adoption centers. I can't believe we didn't think to Google that. The adoption topic will be on hold while we process all of the events, but thanks for giving us hope. I will probably post an update after things have settled, and I am no longer angry or confused. Thank you for now. And now on to the update. Hello guys, it's been a while. I've been dealing with my heartache and decided to log off Reddit. Just the mere thought of the baby girl made me cry continuously. I'd been going to therapy and I'm feeling much better, although some sadness is still there. My therapist actually helped me understand this situation was out of my control and I shouldn't be blamed for it all. She agreed that the donating without telling my wife was wrong, but it is a minor mistake in such a huge mess. This is unfortunately not a happy update, because my wife and I's relationship had taken a toll and we decided to separate. We are still friends, but our relationship ending is still hurting me. A happy thing that came out of this was that I was able to adopt a tripod stray from Turkey. He had survived parvovirus and is the sweetest dog I've ever been in contact with. Our bond is what's keeping me happy and healthy through this situation. My ex-wife finally got in contact with her sister after our split, and I got the pictures of the baby. She is an angel, and she is smiling constantly from what I hear. I asked my ex-wife to not send me any photos of her for a while because I am still in the process of healing. Thank you, all of you. I truly felt so appreciated as I read through your comments. I actually showed them to my therapist, and she was amazed at the support. She believes that all of this support and my friends have really helped me in the healing process with therapy. I have forgiven my sister-in-law, and I bear no ill wishes towards her. This does not mean that I will probably ever be in contact with her, but I needed to forgive her to move on. If you were able to, please donate to either a charity for less fortunate kids or animals. They are truly the most innocent beings that deserve all the support that they can get.